Welcome to Growing Younger podcast, where we guide you through your journey of reaching your fitness goals after 40. If you are suffering from knee arthritis, you have probably been told at some stage that you should be taking supplements glucosamine and chondroitin. So in this podcast today, we're going to look into the actual effectiveness of the glucosamine as a supplement to reduce pain with knee arthritis and also improve function. So I'm going to look at some research for you, so you don't have to spend your many hours going through different studies to find out if glucosamine supplementation is actually effective to address your knee arthritis. Look, my name is Alex Blazewski. I'm a physiotherapist with 21 years experience in private practice from Growing Younger Fitness. That is today's topic of this particular episode. We're going to look at some research. I'm going to interpret it for you so you don't have to spend your time doing it. We're going to look at the science behind glucosamine and if it actually helps to reduce the symptoms of knee arthritis. So look, I've spent quite a bit of time looking at various studies over the last 15, 20 years. And I've basically identified three pretty good quality studies that really sort of looked into whether or not glucosamine can actually help reduce pain and improve function in people with arthritis. And so the first study we're going to look at actually took place about 20 years ago. And the researchers tried to test supplementation with chondroitin, glucosamine, the two together combined, against placebo. And they looked at a number of people with arthritis in their knees. So what they've found is there wasn't really much of an effect of taking glucosamine or chondroitin on the majority of the participants in the study with knee arthritis. Now, one thing to note, this study took place over a 24-week period, so let's say about 6 months. So these people were given glucosamine and chondroitin supplements to take over this period of time. And so at the end of this period, there wasn't really much of a difference between those people who took glucosamine and chondroitin supplements and those who just took the placebo pill. Now, if you don't know what placebo is, it is essentially it's an empty sugar pill. It is given to participants in many medical studies to essentially control for psychological effect that taking some kind of treatment may have on the person. So, for example, you may have a positive effect from a treatment, not so much from the treatment itself, but because you believe that it may actually make you better. So, taking placebo, it helps to control for that because the participant may believe they're taking the whatever drug that's being tested, but in fact they're just given an empty sugar pill. So placebo essentially is no treatment or nothing. Okay, but the person may believe that it is actually they're taking the drug that's being tested. Okay, so it's a bit of a detour here for you. Overall, there wasn't really much of a effect from taking glucosamine. Now, on a side note here, so when the researchers looked specifically at a subgroup of people, so they looked at the participants in the study whose knee arthritis was kind of in the moderate to severe bracket. So those participants whose pain and symptoms were more severe. So if they look specifically at that subsection of the participants, they actually found that taking glucosamine combined with chondroitin actually resulted in substantial improvement in pain levels. So that's a very interesting result. So overall, there wasn't really much of an effect if you look at the whole population sample. But if you specifically look at people who had more severe symptoms, then suddenly they found that there actually was a positive effect of taking chondroitin together with glucosamine. So overall, if I had to summarize the results of the study, a bit of a mixed bag. So overall, not too much of an effect or very little. But for those people with more severe symptoms of knee arthritis, it seems like taking glucosamine together with chondroitin was actually giving them substantial relief. Look, guys, hope you enjoyed the podcast. Look, I have a little favor to ask you. If you know someone who this podcast could be useful for, I would really appreciate if you share this podcast with them. It would help them, but also it would help me grow the channel as well. So that's study 1. Now, study 2 is a bit different. So this study included only people with moderately severe arthritis. So you could say, these are people in significant amount of pain. And the study went on for 6 months. So intervention lasted for 6 months. So essentially they compared glucosamine supplementation. So they used a dose of 1,500 milligrams of glucosamine sulfate once a day against placebo, okay? So what they found that after 6 months, people who were treated with glucosamine, they had significantly improved both pain levels and function compared to no treatment, essentially, compared to placebo, okay? So that is actually quite an interesting result, quite promising. It goes a little bit in contrary with the previous study that we just discussed a minute ago. So this study does clearly show there is some benefit of taking glucosamine, particularly over a kind of a longer term. So this, as I said, this study did take about 6 months to complete. And because it included people with moderately severe arthritis, and the previous study, the first study that we quoted, remember I said that if they sort of focus on the subsection of the participants that actually did have severe arthritis, that it seemed like glucosamine supplementation was actually effective as well. So the conclusion from this that we can make is possibly people with more severe arthritic symptoms may actually benefit from glucosamine more than those people with mild arthritis. And the third study that I really want to mention as well, and this one is particularly interesting because this study not just looked at the symptoms of arthritis, but they also looked at the effect of glucosamine supplementation on the joint structure, or how much wear and tear is actually happening relative to no treatment at all. How much wear and tear in your knee joint is actually happening if you supplement with glucosamine. Now, this study actually took 3 years to complete. So the treatment lasted for 3 years. So they compared a group of people who were supplemented with glucosamine. Again, they used 1,500 milligrams dosage versus placebo. Okay, and so not only they looked at the reduction in pain levels, but also they looked at they took some scans before they entered the study, and they scanned the knees of these people again at the completion of the study after 3 years of supplementation with glucosamine. So interestingly, what they actually found is that the placebo group, people who did not get any treatment, their knee arthritis continued to progress. So essentially, their knee joint continued to become narrower. So the space in the joint became narrower, which basically means the cartilage inside the joint continues to wear down. So that's a classic, sign that arthritis is continuing to progress. Whereas the people who had supplementation with the glucosamine, they virtually had no change in their joint space narrowing. Okay, so that basically means is that visually looking at the scans, their knee joints have not, they didn't get any worse in that 3-year period. Okay, so very promising results. Not only it may help to reduce the pain levels, but it also may actually help to reduce the structural changes that happen with arthritis if you take glucosamine. Now, they also included some pain scores as well. So not surprisingly, so that group that took glucosamine supplements, they actually had a significant reduction in pain levels. The author said 20 to 25% reduction in pain compared to when they started. That's for the group that took glucosamine, and the placebo group, there wasn't really that much of a difference. Okay, so again, just to summarize it, so not only they found that glucosamine supplementation may help to reduce the pain symptoms, but also it may actually maybe not so much stop, but slow down degeneration of your knee joint further, which is quite promising. Now, so if we kind of balance out these 3 studies, we could probably conclude that, taking glucosamine supplementation over a long term may help you manage your arthritis better, particularly in terms of pain and function. Now, again, I wouldn't expect a miracle from glucosamine. So most people who get results, who actually get relief, the relief that you get is quite modest, okay? So you still need to do other things. Like you still need to strengthen your muscles around your knee. You still need to manage your weight. So if you're overweight, it always helps to reduce your body weight, to offload, to reduce the stress on your knee. So I'm not saying that you can use glucosamine supplementation as some kind of silver bullet or magic potion. You still need to do these other things that that are beneficial with arthritis. So weight reduction, gentle muscle strengthening. But if you supplement with glucosamine, given the evidence that we have, it may also help to reduce your symptoms, and possibly may help to reduce the degeneration of the actual knee joints as we get older. So now there is actually a number of studies looking at the effect of glucosamine on the symptoms of knee arthritis. There's a lot of other studies that some say that glucosamine supplementation is effective. Other studies say it's not effective. So it's a bit of a mixed bag. So look, if you want to go and research it deeper, I welcome you to do so. It would probably take you quite a bit of time to go through all the studies available. But the purpose of this podcast was really to kind of save you time, and I try to kind of summarize it a little bit. And hopefully it helps you kind of form a bit of an opinion. Always a good idea to speak to your doctor about it as well, to see if they think the glucosamine supplementation may actually help you manage your knee arthritis better. All the best for now. Take care.